I never wake up at the same time. Some days I have the blessing of getting up before the kids, nourishing my body, moving a little bit, maybe getting some work done. And then other days, we just had a rough night of sleep. The kids didn't sleep through the night, and I'm feeling really tired. So I use that time to get up with them so I can nourish my body in that way. But it doesn't matter when my day actually gets started, because we are still able to enjoy a slow and easeful morning. 2 years ago, I was addicted to the idea of waking up before my kids, and I was angry. I was angry because I wanted this time for me, and it felt so inconsistent. It felt like, they would have a rough night's sleep, or I didn't sleep well, and I was forcing myself to get up in the morning, and then halfway through the day, I was just feeling angry and tired and burned out. So I ditched the 5 a.m. wake-ups, no more alarms, and I gave myself permission to enjoy a rhythm. Each morning, I have about 5 to 7 things I do consistently, and this ensures that obviously chores get done, we're productive, but that I'm also taking care of myself, even if I'm up with my kids. So in my morning, there's very little stress. I have time to be there for my kids through all the tantrums, the meltdowns, the big feelings, the I wanted the blue cup instead of the red cup moments, which you'll see here today. But ultimately, we have time to connect, to enjoy breakfast together, and I also make time with my kids right there present with me to fill my cup. So if you are somebody who loved mornings and just feel irritated that you're not able to get up before your kids, I want to show you what it's like to actually go through a morning and enjoy the time that you have to be slow, to be easeful, but also be productive and get a whole lot done. On this particular day, I woke up around 6. I find that I'm typically waking between 5:30 and 7, just depending on how the kids slept the night before. But each morning, it's so nice to know that I have 5 things that I need to get done. It gives me the time and the space to be able to be there for my kids, or maybe something happens like a spill and I don't feel overwhelmed by it. The nice thing is that the order and the timing doesn't matter, which helps to keep me from feeling frustrated when I'm starting to fall behind. I used to feel frustrated by my kids' early wake-ups, their interruptions, and when things didn't go to plan. So knowing that I only have a handful of necessary things each morning gives me more capacity to be able to handle all the moments that don't go exactly to plan. On this morning, my husband happened to make the wrong breakfast. And if you could see me right now, I'm doing air quotes because it wasn't the wrong breakfast, but my oldest claimed it was. And I was able to hold her through that. I didn't need to yell, feel like I needed to use threats, or make even something new for her. I was able to be with her in the uncomfortability and walk her through that. Having a rhythm feels like time is always on my side instead of always working against the clock, which I feel like was my life prior to implementing a rhythm. What you've seen so far is a chronological view of this specific morning. But no 2 days ever go the same, and that's kind of the beauty of a rhythm. Sometimes my important tasks differ too, so I know what you're thinking. Okay, how do I choose 5 things that must get done because there's like 30 things that need to get done? Most of the time, I go over these 5 things before bed the night before because I feel much more easeful in the morning. Like I have a direction, a plan waking up. And so I have a few rules that I go by. Rule number 1 is what need of mine needs to be met. I'm always prioritizing my needs because if mama isn't nourished, then everybody is going to be unhappy. Rule number 2 is that what child or what are my children's needs that need to be met? Maybe you've been noticing that your youngest is really struggling with tantrums and you want to carve out special time. I like to implement one of these important things to be connection time with either one of my kids or both. And then rule number 3 are what tasks must happen. And typically I'm choosing 3 tasks that must happen. Remember that a rhythm means it doesn't have to happen at any specific time. And then you can also have an afternoon rhythm. So you'll see in mine, specifically on this day, I didn't have cleaning in my rhythm, but I got everything done. So I was able to clean earlier in my day. Now, going back to rule number 1, attuning to your inner world and needs is crucial to feeling vibrant as a mother. And this has been probably the hugest shift that I've made in my life that has made me come alive. I feel like I have energy and capacity to be able to handle my kids, their ups and downs, all of the things, because I am, for the first time in my life, meeting my own needs. And if you're sitting here going, gosh, I wouldn't even know what my needs are, this is what I teach in module 1 of the Calm Mama Blueprint, which is all about reconnecting to ourselves. We need to reconnect to our body. We need to bring it back online so we can understand what our needs even are. Because I know for me in the beginning, I would have said, I don't even have needs. So you're probably noticing that my main focus of this specific day was to nourish my body, and I have very good reason for that. I had a really rough night with the kids, and I was feeling really tired. And what you'll notice here is that my kids are always with me. Something that is very important in attachment is proximity. So even though I'm meeting my own needs, I'm ensuring that my kids are close by because I know that this is going to build that attachment that they really need. Learning how to do life with kids close by is difficult at first, and I believe that it's a skill that we now need to learn because intuitively we would have been seeing and mirroring our mothers or grandmothers, other women in our community. We just don't have that today. So I love the book, Hunt, Gather, Parent. This was so helpful in helping me to see how to integrate kids into my life, being able to do everyday normal tasks, fill up my cup, do my things while my kids were here and involved. I want to point out a few of the things that make every mom's rhythm different, and that just because it looks like on this specific day I had a lot of self-care for me, it doesn't mean that maybe your kids are at an age where you're even able to have that much self-care, and that makes total sense. So here are 3 things that I want you to think through. So the age of your kids, how old are they? How many kids do you have? This all matters in what your rhythm looks like. The second thing that I want you to think about is your life circumstances. So back when my husband owned his own business, he was leaving at 7 a.m., not getting home till 7, 8 p.m. at night. It was exhausting. So for me to be able to have any more capacity would be really, really difficult, knowing that my kids were also 2 under 2. So they required a lot more of my energy in that season. They needed a lot more help. Maybe here you're going to evaluate your outside help. How much outside help do you have? Do you have help from a grandma, an aunt? Do you have no help? Do you have a babysitter? Do you have a daycare? What does this look like, and how does this differ from other moms? Knowing that just because you see another mom, maybe even me on YouTube, looking like I'm at a stage in my life where I can do it all, it's just kind of the phase and stage. And for instance, my husband changed jobs so that way he could be home more. And then we moved closer to him, so we were even closer and we didn't have to worry about not seeing him. So he's a lot more involved in our life than he used to be. So kind of knowing those things I think is really important. The last thing that I want you to consider is Is your child in school or children in school? Are you homeschooling? What does this look like for you and for your family? The best part about a rhythm is that you make it work for you. You don't have to go off anybody else's schedule, anybody else's needs, anybody else's tasks. Like, you can weave in real life with what's important, and by the end of your rhythm, you feel full, you feel productive, you feel vibrant, and it also feels like a lot less pressure. It's not like I have 10,000 things that I'm trying to get done. It's like, what am I actually needing to get done today? And also, what is my family needing? Looking at that is just as important as the tasks that are needed to get done. I also want to mention here that it's important that your kids are feeling heard and seen and loved, and they are getting this when you are able to have those little moments with them. You know, those moments when I really wanted the pink sippy cup instead of the blue one, and they're getting really angry, and you're able to hold them through that without using punishments, bribes, threats, any of the above. I'm going to pause this for just a second and say that if you are struggling with how to parent in an intuitive way, knowing that you don't want to use punishments, yelling, bribes, threats, and you also don't want to fall into permissive parenting, I have my private podcast called Unscripted that is running until the middle of November. It has a whole community to it, so you can ask questions, but we are diving into this kind of stuff. First week we talked about the big picture of parenting, then we talked about boundaries, how to set boundaries, what do boundaries even look like, why do kids need boundaries and not punishments, and then currently we just did an entire episode on attachment and why attachment is so huge for parents. You're probably very curious at this point, what do you actually have in your daily rhythm? And like I said, it varies from day to day, but these are the most common things that come up in my morning rhythm. So number one, I always leave this on my list, and it's meeting my needs and nourishing my body. Even if this means it's for 5 minutes, 30 seconds, I can remember the 2 under 2, I could barely take 10 seconds for myself. But maybe what I need to do is kind of weave this into my morning, and any little 10 to 15 seconds that I can see, I can have a moment for myself, I'm going to take that, I'm going to embrace that. I'm not going to fill that with a task or being productive. Instead, I'm going to take the moment to when I have a task, and I'm going to incorporate my kids into that. So just a little shift to make there. The second thing that's pretty much always on my list is connecting with my kids. My kids need consistent connection to be able to form attachment, to be able to form just a real relationship. Think about your spouse. When you guys are not connecting, when you're not spending time just playing a game, watching a show, doing something together, you guys lose connection. And the same thing goes with our kids. So I prioritize this every single day. It looks different from day to day. Sometimes it's reading a book, sometimes it's playing Magna-Tiles, sometimes it's going on a walk. It just kind of depends on what's going on with my kids. The third thing that I do every single day, except literally the day that I recorded this, because I already had it made, but I start or prep dinner. I always do this in the morning. I try to do this right after breakfast is done if I can, but I try to get either something, going in the crock pot, maybe I'm smoking something on the smoker, or I pull something out of the freezer, chop up all my vegetables, whatever I need for dinner. And this has helped my 5 o'clock hour, which has been so stressful for me. But if you are somebody who struggles with that 5 o'clock hour, I would love for you to comment below, because I really want to do they call it the witching hour, that witching hour, 4 to 6 p.m. Kids are crazy. You're trying to get dinner done, rhythm for that. So I have some tips. Things have gotten a lot better, but this is one of them. Starting my dinner in the morning has been crucial. Number 4, I always do a load of laundry in the morning. I commit to just one, and then if I have more time in the afternoon, if my afternoon rhythm goes as planned, then I will do another load of laundry. So knowing that I sometimes do more than this, but I always make sure to at least start one, because if not, it just gets out of control. Number 5 is pretty obvious, but making breakfast for me and my kids. Typically, this is one of the first things that's happening, But in some cases, you know, our morning gets started a little bit later and we don't have breakfast till just a tad bit later. I think it's important to note here that I keep this on my list, and here's why. Because I want to prove to myself and show myself that making breakfast, these kinds of tasks, take time and they're also really important. And so if I have it as a quote unquote task, I actually feel more productive at the end. I feel like, oh yeah, I did that. I got that done. It's not just like, I don't know, I was wasting my time to make breakfast, because I find that I have a lot of connection time with my kids because maybe they're helping me up on the counter, or we have like an island and they're sitting on the other side of the island, kind of talking, coloring while I'm making breakfast. So I try to remind myself that this is a really important time. I'm nourishing my family, I'm nourishing myself, and it was important. So that's why I always keep that on there as well. But I want you to see that some days I get through all of this stuff, like on the specific day, I got through all of it really, really fast. I had very minimal interruptions. And so then I had time to like tidy the house. I even read a little bit. So those days do happen. And then after lunch, I typically tidy up before we do homeschool. So what you're seeing here is like, this is gonna free up some time in my afternoon rhythm. And so I was able to spend time doing homeschool with the kids without having to do my tidying up before. But that's just like a typical, like this is typically what I do. But again, it just changes day to day and what's going on in our family.
Okay, thank you guys so much for joining me today and just coming along for my rhythms. I hope that what you're seeing is that my mornings are imperfect. They consist of my children having, meltdowns, tantrums. They also consist of slowness and filling myself, giving myself what I need to be able to function, to be a mom. I hope that it encourages you that not everything has to go the same way every single day. Like I mentioned, today I already had dinner started. I didn't need to do that, this morning. Other things like when I get the laundry done, when we do homeschool. Today we didn't do it in the morning. A lot of times we do, but today we're going to do it in the afternoon. So I feel like things just vary. The sun wasn't out this morning and then it decided to come out at 10 o'clock and it was beautiful. And so what did I do at the tail end of my morning? I made time to sit out and do that. So yeah, I hope that this encourages you. If you have questions about rhythms, please comment them below. I think it's really helpful to have other moms who are trying to figure out how rhythms are going to work in their life. My best tip of advice is to pick just 5 things, like 3 maybe to start with. I think I started with 3. If you go back and watch my first rhythm video, I think it was 3. But now I'm up to about 5 rhythms. And then when I have time for extra things, I do them. And truly, my mornings are slow. I have children under my bed moving my camera. So the whole thing wiggled and I was like, okay, I'm going to pause this. But yeah, as you can see, my kids are here. They are in my daily life, doing the daily things with me. And I think it would have been so helpful for me to see this early on in my motherhood journey, because I just thought moms were able to do all these things without their kids involved. And, there was a lot of things that I didn't even capture here because I didn't have enough space to just record everything. But my kids a lot of times help me with different chores, doing laundry, doing the dishes. Today they honestly were playing a lot more independent than like normal, so to speak. But as you saw at one point, my toddler was having a really hard moment. So we sat outside together in a chair. We honestly, in total, probably sat out there for all of 4 minutes, but it was exactly what she needed and exactly what I needed to keep our day going so we could have a nice, easeful morning. So anyway, I want to thank you for being here. If you enjoyed this video, would you please give it a thumbs up? If you want to continue learning how to be a calm, slow, patient, and intuitive mama, would you please subscribe? And yeah, I am so glad that you were here with me today, and I will see you in the next video.